The Northeast Regional Children's Advocacy Center is really happy to put together this video about the importance and the value of case review. Case review, or sometimes people call it multidisciplinary team, or sometimes case conferencing, really brings together the knowledge, the expertise of team members who come to case review or MDT to talk about child abuse cases. We want you to hear from team members from the Child Protective Services world, prosecutor's office, law enforcement, victim advocates, medical and mental health, as well as the MDT coordinator. We had the opportunity to videotape case review here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and they brought together all of their team members to review current child abuse cases that they're working on, to figure out, to do case planning, to figure out what next steps were in cases, to ensure that services were being provided to children as well. In the world of Child Advocacy Center, I really believe that the multidisciplinary team, case review, case conferencing, MDT, whatever we call it, is really an opportunity to build relationships. And I think that's really what's at the core of making child advocacy centers work, because people build relationships, professional relationships with each other, which really ends up providing an opportunity for the best outcome for children and their family members.
My role as CAC director also includes facilitation of case review. And in that capacity, my involvement in case review really starts, I'd say, a week before our scheduled meeting, which happens at the same time and place and date each month. And I'm responsible for running a list of cases of children who were scheduled to come into the CAC for evaluations, and making sure that that list is as comprehensive as it needs to be. So in our county, we review every case that is scheduled or completed during a specific time period. Some months that could be as few as 20 cases, other months that could be upwards of 45, 50 cases. And we have the same amount of time each month, so we have 2 hours to cover all of those cases. When the day of case review comes, I make sure that everyone knows each other around the table. So most months we have the same group of people coming to case review from each of the disciplines. But in the event that we have someone who is not normally there or someone who doesn't come as frequently, we make sure that everyone introduces themselves so that everyone knows who's around the table. We also make sure that everyone signs our confidentiality agreement. So that basically says that everyone who attends case review has to follow the same confidentiality requirements that are stated in our MDT protocols. If we have someone who's a guest at case review, I make sure that they understand that they really can't share anything that they hear at case review with anyone outside of the meeting, because it's really important for us to respect the privacy of the children and families that we're talking about.
Case review is extremely important. It's the place where we all can come together and realize that we have one goal, and it helps the police department to see the case from a bigger viewpoint, and it's not just can we make an arrest, it's not are we going to go prosecute, it's more what does this victim need, even if it's not going to be prosecutable.
But also her main concern with me was really, how do I make sure this doesn't happen to my children again, and how do I make sure my children don't do this to other kids? I mean, she really was thematically all about what is this going to mean for my kids. At the point that I talked to her. Now, I'm sure there's many, many other feelings she's having too.
And she has since, I know for a fact, that I've received another child on report since all of this occurred, which would be number 3. So, but
where's the 12-year-old?
Yeah. Living with his mother in New York.
And any other kids?
According to, they have 2 different caseworkers over there, one from the sexual assault or abuse allegation, and there was another domestic violence allegation that they assign caseworkers to. It's DCP&P now, which is the former DIFAS.
Are the boys willing to be in any kind of treatment? So the younger boy is in counseling with Nova. Mom is also, from those questions, Dr. Lynn, that you had asked, like, how do I not make this a pattern for my kids? Mom is also getting some support in that through our PSB program. We're kind of talking through some of those things. And she says that the older boy at this point she doesn't feel he needs anything, but if things change, she'll let us know.
And she was given a list of services that go through her insurance that she can look for the older child if she'd like. I provided that to her 2 different times. Yeah, just in case.
Do we know anything about the schooling? Like, do they have an IEP? Do they have any special needs?
As far as I understand, the answer is no.
All right.
But mom does acknowledge that the younger child, she explains it as showing symptoms of ADHD.
I'll follow up with the counselors and see if they can get that information.
Sounds like a lot of work went into this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's frustrating for that one. It is.
But the kids are safe, and they have a mom who's going to protect them, and they're getting treatment, and it sounds like he's aware of the AP's the allegations, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think this one's important too. I'm sorry.
Please.
With mom's development throughout the case. So when I first met her, she was like, I want charges. I want this child to go and get treatment. I don't want this to happen to your children. And I feel like she has evolved since then to, okay, focusing more on her children. How can I make sure that they move forward in a safe way?
Mm-hmm.
And how can I prepare to make sure that this doesn't happen to them again? Interesting to see.
We'll see. The case isn't closed. It's just we're waiting on the victim. If what we think has happened, that hopefully his therapy will result in a successful prosecution.
Once we get to the case review, we're there to provide guidance and follow-up to the law enforcement partners and child welfare partners who are also present, and ultimately discuss any issues that may have arisen during the initial interview, in the interim since the initial interview, and any issues that we foresee going forward, whether or not we make a decision to proceed with criminal charges or not. And issues could be anything from what worked really well. Every case is individual, and so it requires an individual response. And sometimes things that the MDT, the way that the MDT responds ends up producing a really great result and really supports families through the process and helps them go through a very difficult time. And sometimes there are things that we can do better. So in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, we are always striving to improve our response to reports of sexual and physical child abuse. And the case review is a great opportunity to look back at what we did well and also what areas that we can improve.
So I'm not going to bury the lead. This case resulted in a conviction after a jury trial 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah. Detective Nieves and McMullen were the detectives. Katie's here too. Do you guys want to give us the background?
It was received October 1st. It was, through a child line report. By the time it wasn't originally reported to law enforcement, after the event occurred, the mother went to her employer's employee assistance program and talked to a counselor, which then resulted in a mandated reporter making a child line report. So when it was brought to our attention in early October, what happened was the mother leaves work early in the morning. She works downtown, and the victim in this case is a 12-year-old female, and she also has a younger brother. How old is the brother?
He's 6.
6, and he's special needs. It was the common routine was that the father would get the kids up and get them ready for school. And on this particular day, mom receives a phone call from her daughter, who was very upset and distraught, and she had left the house, and she was outside hiding behind a shed. And she told her mom that dad came in to wake her up, got in bed with her, and began fondling her breasts underneath her shirt and bra, and had put his mouth on her breasts, which resulted in her leaving. She didn't have her shoes on. It was in the fall. She didn't have a coat on. So Mom panics, and she's about a good 45 minutes away, but she drops everything and she starts heading back. But she calls a friend who lives nearby, who she wants to go see if she can pick up her child. Mom gets home, confronts Dad, and when she gets there, actually she calls him on the way and starts tearing into him, and he's kind of downplaying it. When she gets home, he's sitting at the couch, he's got his hands in his face, and he makes a comment, "I knew the day would come when I couldn't hug Daddy's little girl." So the guy's kind of a creeper. Mom then meets up with her friend and her daughter, again, gives a consistent disclosure to Mom. So Dave and I met with Mom. It was later in the week, it was either a Thursday, or Mom throws Dad out of the house, and he doesn't even argue, he just packs his things and goes. And then he goes and he quits his job, which we thought was interesting, because he literally goes, quits his job, and he tells his employer, "I'm moving to Georgia to live with my sister."
Which came up in trial, where his coworkers come to court and they said he asked for a leave of absence. No, he didn't. He quit, and which was huge. Why would
Yeah,
he quit?
it kind of screamed of consciousness of guilt to us, but at that point, we were just going to interview the suspect, and that was done. It was a non-custodial interview. I called him up that week. He came over. Katie Marseglia was there from Children and Youth, and we spoke with him. And his demeanor, he was just very lighthearted about the whole thing. You know, it was kind of, he would smile at things that a normal person wouldn't smile about. And in asking him, telling him about what the allegations were to make sure he understood them, he denied any wrongdoing, but then he would immediately say, "But my daughter's not a liar." So that was pretty much where it was at. So from that point on, we had additional meetings with the victim and her mother. Kay Kohler was the DA on the case, and ultimately we charged. His daughter made it very clear she didn't want him to go to jail. So we're thinking, how are we going to keep them on board months down the line until this gets to trial? And then Mom, we were worried about too, because with him out of the house, money came into play. Like, he was giving her money here and there, but it was sporadic, and she was making it real clear that she was falling behind. And but yet Mom would say, "No, I believe my daughter." But all the heavy lifting was done really by the victim and by.
Well, let me just say, though, you guys did, and of course Kate did a tremendous job, but the nuances of documenting that she loves Father and then eliciting that showed no bias against Dad, the credibility of her statement, the prompt complaint, locking in the prompt complaint witness on a case like that where there's no physical evidence.
We talk a lot about how difficult they are, but this case I think is a good example of, they're not lost causes. They can
Right.
be.
I think what helped too, you had Mom's friend that picked her up corroborating that, that she was hiding, she came running out, she was in a panic, she wasn't dressed right for the weather. And I think that, showed it was consistent with what had occurred.
Even the FBI.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and that was another thing I was going to say. We showed the CAC interview, the whole thing,
That's right.
which Ray did a great job on. But I think it actually, aside from it being a great job, the jury got to see the victim testify twice, and she was consistent in real life with what she was.
Word for word.
Literally, yeah.
You took some hits pre-trial with the evidence that was permitted in against the victim, so she really endured a lot on the stand. So this is like the example of everybody doing their part and a tremendous outcome on a tough case.
And Kate Kohler, the DA, did a great job with prepping. I mean, we set up 3 sessions. The first one, we weren't even going to do any prep. It was just let's show the courtroom, let's hang out. We were playing cards, spit was our game. You finally beat me in it. I should, yeah. But then going into even the prep of doing 2 more sessions after that one, literally the week before, and did the most amazing job considering the defendant's attorney was like grilling her on the stand, and she held her ground. And when he tried to, twist her up, she's like, no. And so she held her ground with that, and I was very impressed of everything that she's went through, and she did phenomenal. And I think that's what the jury believed her, and that was just great.
Katie, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that
She did a great job.
I know
She
they
was-
talked a lot.
Yes. She was consistent in her minimal facts disclosure and in the forensic interview.
And this medical was going on 9 months ago, but I don't know if you had anything you wanted to.
No, she came for the exam. She wouldn't allow the full exam because she had a menstrual period. She didn't have any complaints. She had STI testing, which was negative. And with the disclosure given, we gave her the option to return or not return based on her comfort level.
And she is receiving, the mom has private counseling for her, and she is continuing with that.
And she had a physician and was plugged in.
So my role at the case reviews is dual, right? Sometimes I attend with families that are involved with family intervention services. So I'm reporting back directly what services our company is providing, what questions we have for the rest of the team. When there are families who are not directly with family intervention services, what we try to do is really provide a family systems view of that situation.
It might be helpful, Michelle, when services are starting to be put into place, to kind of have like a team, like a treatment team meeting to keep everyone kind of on the same path. Because I know with counseling, we're a little concerned that mom doesn't really believe the girls and isn't necessarily safe. And so when she brings them, if she brings them, that they're just going to have a hard time in that situation, going to counseling and then leaving with someone who feels unsafe. So if we can collaborate with all the other services, even for the little boy if he stays, to be able to kind of track our goals together and make sure that we're working appropriately, that might be helpful.
The benefit of case review is really having every discipline represented at the table, having the benefit of hindsight to be able to see what's transpired since the initial evaluation has taken place, and for team members to be able to give real-time updates to other team members about what has taken place since the original evaluation that happened at the CAC.
So coming from Child Protective Services, the benefit of case review is invaluable. Case review is an opportunity for all the teams, especially our Child Protective Services teams, to be able to get a chance to gain more information about their investigation from the other components of the investigation. So for instance, if Special Victims has additional information since we concluded our investigation, that information is helpful to us so that we can support families and any services working along with our Philadelphia Children's Alliance, our CAC, and making sure that the proper services are in place. A lot of supportive information is shared at case review that may not have been available during our investigation. For instance, we may receive additional information about the therapy component. So if our client happens to have made a disclosure during the investigation, we may have indicated the investigation. We may not know necessarily what the next steps are that are going to be available for the family. What we learned from case review is not only what services were provided, but additional information that may support our decision in our investigation, as well as for us to be reassured that the family is receiving the proper services. Sometimes we get information from the therapist that may be at the review who could give additional information about what the child may have revealed during their first or second therapy appointment.
It was not an easy process to get with the mom and to find her. We finally found her. We were able to get an interview. We did set up a medical. Unfortunately, that did not work out.
Well, I mean, I think it worked out in some ways because it was really informative,
right?
But it wasn't completed, so that way it didn't work out. But I had a lot of concerns about this. So my impressions I spent a bunch of time with the mother and with the children in the clinic, and my main impression is they need a lot of service and support before they can even really successfully complete services, complete their medical exam. It was really emotionally charged for this far into an investigation and a process, and I really makes me worry that whatever is going on in the household is not supportive and bringing these kids along to a calmer space in this. So what I offered is that they could come back and finish their medical exams whenever they want. They expressed to me that they were worried about their bodies and they wanted to have a medical, but they really were not able to consent or have the medicals that day. So I asked them asked to have them come back when they're ready. I think they might need to have therapy in place and good supports in place before they do anything that's related to this abuse.
She has a really strong, I'm Jocelyn's supervisor, Mom has a very strong support system here in Bucks County, and historically she has a history of, unfortunately, going with men who are domestically violent, abusive, manipulative, and remove her from her supports. So when this report came in, she flew back up here, but it was Jocelyn, to her credit, did a wonderful job. She really searched for the mom for 6 weeks before we even found her and the kids, because the mom was just bouncing and didn't want to be found and didn't want her family to realize what happened. She didn't want the extended family to understand everything that had happened, because he had removed her and all the kids from Pennsylvania and taken them down to Georgia. So there's a lot here.
You get to have everybody at the table at one time, and we're able to have an open conversation and a very candid conversation about what is possible for all the agencies, because what the police department can do sometimes is not going to give the child the best benefit, but we're able to discuss all the avenues, and we're able to work collaboratively in a setting that for a lot of things within the criminal justice system, we're not able to do collaboratively and to really have the same goal in mind.
One of the benefits that I have seen is we all work as a team, and all of us have different expertise, obviously by the name of the multidisciplinary team. So it's very valuable to be able to have everyone at the table sharing their different perspectives, from the prosecutors, from the child protection agency, from the mental health, from other social services providers. We have case managers, and so it's very valuable to be able to be at one table sharing it all at one time.
This work is very important to me because children are some of the most vulnerable members of our community. So it's a privilege for me to be able to work every day on a team of people whose only purpose is to protect kids, to make sure that they're safe, and to hold the people who hurt them accountable.
I want to talk about a case that we saw as a huge success that came about through case review. We had an investigation in our sex abuse investigations, which really was not even a sex abuse investigation. It was a physical discipline investigation where a child received some serious injuries. The child came to PCA for a forensic interview, and a part of that interview process, she did not make a disclosure. We could not tell what was going on. The investigator, however, was collaborating with our police partners as well as the medical team. When she went out to the home to interview the children in the home, the victim child was very elusive about her abuse, but her younger siblings were very adamant that she was the actual victim child and that she was getting abused. And come to find out, we learned from this case review, along with the investigator doing her due diligence, that this child had received multiple incidences of abuse, that had this team not collaborated the way they did, we would not have had this information and would not have been able to have the results that we did, which included getting the children to safety, removing them from the home. And the mother, who was the perpetrator of this abuse, was actually arrested. And this happened to be her subsequent arrest. She had been with child services in a different state. And coming to this state, we didn't know this history, but through the case review, we were able to gather information from all the different parties. And this was a case that the team actually really supported the investigator and felt that she did a phenomenal job along with the police.
One success that stands out for us is a case where law enforcement and prosecution came to case review feeling like they were not going to be able to move forward with the case because they got the sense that the family wasn't willing to cooperate. And so they talked about their impression of the family, and the Child Protective Services worker shared her perspective on the family, which was really quite different from law enforcement and prosecution. The Child Protective Services worker, who happened to speak Spanish, talked about the fact that she communicates with the family in Spanish and wondered whether there might be a subtle language barrier that might be impacting the outcome of the case. So she agreed to talk with the family, with the district attorney, and when she was able to communicate with them in Spanish, the family agreed to move forward. And it was unlikely that that real barrier would have been identified had we not all been sitting around the table to talk about that particular case. So it really highlighted for me the importance of sharing that real-time information on every case that comes through the Children's Advocacy Center.
So coming to case review, having that dichotomy of support from the entire review team to be able to talk about the investigation and hear from different parties what they learned from their investigation, and sharing that information as a collaborative is very supportive for the learning of our current investigators.
Anything, Dr. Lynn, from the medical that stands out?
She was seen by Betsy Grund at St. Christopher's. She was being treated for a urinary tract infection before she came to that appointment. She also was diagnosed with vulvovaginitis, which is just irritation. None of those things are specific, but we should know that there have been those complaints.
Like you guys said, she did have counseling, and we referred her for more behavioral needs, because we feel like that is a pressing challenge for her. So working with mom on how to meet those behavioral needs.
Does the uncle have children?
No, and he resides with his mother.
Yeah.
And the child is not allowed to stay at the grandmother's house as part of their custody order.
What makes it successful is when we have all the parties at the table. So we have to try to set this agenda in enough time where we can contact the individuals who worked on that case to give them the opportunity to clear their schedule so that they can be present.
Healthy habits in regards to case review are that you come prepared. For one, if you're reviewing a specific family, know what the updates are, know what the family is receiving and how if they're benefiting or not, or what other areas we could help them with. But also come prepared to have a discussion. Agree to disagree, I think, is one of the things that I have seen the healthiest in our table. It's been very good to be able to share our perspectives and be respectful of our perspectives, but come to one understanding for the child's sake.
So one thing that can make case review successful is to start each meeting with something that we call a prideful moment. So it's an opportunity to give team members the opportunity to talk about something positive that's happened or something good that's happened with a family or a case. It's a nice reframe for the team when we talk so much about sad and painful things, to really think about something that's gone well and to acknowledge something that the team can feel proud of. It's also nice when we can share a mental health success story at case review, so that gives our mental health partner the opportunity to talk about a case from their perspective and the important impact that they've made with a family. Often case review focuses on kind of the immediacy of the investigation and highlights the important work of the investigative team, and we like to share mental health success stories for a couple of reasons. One, because it spotlights what the mental health provider is doing to help that child and family heal. And also, it gives the investigative partners a sense of hope and that families are resilient and children can heal even after terrible things have happened to them.
Every member of the multidisciplinary team shares the overarching goal of trying to keep kids safe. The way that we achieve that goal is different for each agency, and we're each subject to different guidelines and different timeline requirements and deadlines. So that may mean that, for example, a child welfare investigation may hold off in notifying a perpetrator so that a criminal investigation can do whatever they need investigatively. It might also mean that a criminal investigation has to operate on a slightly shorter timeline than they would prefer. But the important thing is that everybody's talking and they're willing to adjust their response based on another agency's need.
So some of the challenges that we see is, especially when we're looking at just like the forensic or the medical only exams that we have, where what the police need and what the other agencies need to substantiate a case or to move forward are very different. And we see that a lot with DCF and also with the prosecutor. So DCF will sometimes substantiate a case and the police don't have enough probable cause to move forward. And also vice versa. We'll say, we're going forward with a warrant, and they're saying we didn't even substantiate. Those are some challenges, and just the understanding to the non-police and non-law enforcement what probable cause means. Because we sit at this table and they're like, well, why can't we just arrest them? Or why can't you just do this? And so trying to be clear and aware of the lack of understanding sometimes with these legal terms, that we're just like, oh, no, we don't have enough for this, and just to be mindful of explaining it correctly to our partners.
So there's a lot going on here. The victim in this case also has numerous times stated to Courtney and Officer Bevins that she doesn't wish to see anything happen to her brother. We've talked about this a little bit. At this point, I think what we'll probably do is charge him with a non-registrable offense, and like a non-Megan's Law offense. And then with the goal being getting him some sort of treatment based off sort of the conduct and obviously the mitigation that he has on his end of it. Since I don't think that'll be a tough sell to the victim, since she doesn't want to do anything. In fact, it might be a hard sell to get her to be on board.
Yeah, that's what she's recommending. She, as a 14-year-old, has some recommendations, and that's what she wants for him to get treatment. So
at this point, the next step will probably be we'll meet with her, and then we'll go from there. There was no medical in this case, right?
No.
Natalie, do you have anything from an advocacy perspective that you want to add?
I don't yet. If it's okay with everyone else involved, I can go ahead and contact Mom and kind of offer services there, whether that's counseling, medical options, things like that.
Yeah, I think at this point, there's no more secrets. I think in the beginning that's why we waited, but now I'm going to be reaching out to her today and letting her know where we stand. I'm not going to give her too many specifics. I'm just going to say, like, per the CPSL, for my standard, enough was there. This is what we're moving forward with, and I can let her know that you're going to be reaching out, because again, I can just say your daughter made enough of a disclosure that she qualifies.
And then,
I was just wondering if during the interview, whether or not the victim talked a little bit about why she started sharing this with her friend.
She did actually say that she shared it because she wanted to feel safe, and I feel like it was getting to a point that she didn't feel safe anymore with the brother. So that's make her disclose with the friend. But she did great. Very good interview. She gave a good disclosure.
One thing that I would love for MDT members to understand about case review is it takes all of us to be able to make it successful. And so if we all come with an open mind and we're not feeling like you are, being judged for not doing something or how you handle the case, but just coming for discussion, this case review can be successful. It is a great conversation to talk about cases and share and also get feedback. It's important to listen. It's important for the work as well, because sometimes we can be at a loss for what to do next. And it's really great to know you have team members out there that may have had success with a similar case, and getting that feedback really does assist with making sure our families have the best possible services.
In conclusion, I would like to just advocate for our case conferences across all of our multidisciplinary teams, because it is our opportunity for us we see each other in the hallway, we may see each other, at various interviews, but to be able to come together as a multidisciplinary team, to learn from each other, to support each other, to be able to lend our expertise to each other, because we come from different backgrounds and we have different goals and expectations from our various agencies. But our shared common goal is for the safety, well-being of children, and for the healing and restoration and justice for our victims.
The best advice that I would give to someone who was getting ready to participate in a case review is to remember that overarching goal. And that is that we're all sitting around the table with the same purpose: to keep kids safe. And it's really important, as long as you keep that goal in mind and also come with an open mind and a willingness to work together and collaborate, then your case review will be a success.
you.